Today we are going to discuss about how integration with China since 1997 has affected Hong Kong entertainment industry.
At first, I will talk about the changes of orientation in Hong Kong film industry after the Golden Age. Between 60s to 80s, Hong Kong films received both positive review and commercial success globally. Hong Kong movie industry was being regarded as Oriental Hollywood, it producing 100 to 200 feature films annually. Hong Kong film was very popular among Pan-Asian countries. The Hong Kong film industry at that time are highly associated with Taiwan. The Taiwan investment were the major capital source for Hong Kong film production. Because of the commercial success in Taiwan, Hong Kong artists released Mandarin albums and movies in Taiwan. Taiwan singers and actors tend to go to Hong Kong entertainment industry to seek better chances. Hong Kong film industry development are tightly associated with the political changes within mainland and Taiwan. Compared to mainland and Taiwan in 60s to 80s, film production under colonial Hong Kong government have a higher degree of freedom in terms of speech and artistic expression. In China, is suffering from anti-rightist campaign and cultural revolution, and Taiwan is under the rule of martial law. The great demand in Southeast Asia countries also contribute to the golden age of Hong Kong film industry because of the underdevelopment of the entertainment industry. However, in 1997, the Asian financial crisis has struck Pan-Asian countries' economy, leading to the downfall of Hong Kong film industry. Economic recession in Southeast Asian countries decreased the demand of Hong Kong films. The income from issuing authority in foreign cinema and TV stations were decreasing. In Hong Kong, it increased the difficulty to gather visual capital, and only detailed, sure-hit films projects could hope to obtain the necessary funding. The CIPA Alliance in 2003 is the turning point of the Hong Kong film industry. It marked the ages of co-production film in the Hong Kong film industry. CIPA has shaped the major trend of co-production films. CIPA was being introduced after the SARS epidemic to resolving Hong Kong economic downturn. To be entitled to the benefit of CIPA, a mainland company must fulfill the following criteria. First, it has to be incorporated under the laws of Hong Kong. Second, it has to be liable to pay profit tax in Hong Kong. Third, it needs to be employed in Hong Kong employees for 50% or both. Fourth, it needs to engaging in business operation in such an industry for a minimum period, usually 3 to 5 years. The CIPA features on film industry are very significant. Before CIPA, mainland China only allowed 20 foreign films each year to enter the China market. Hong Kong movie were being regarded as foreign import. It means that Hong Kong movie has to compete with Hollywood production. After the CIPA, Sino-Hong Kong production will be considered domestic, even when filming takes place outside of the mainland, which means it's no longer restricted by the import quota. Under the CIPA arrangement, Hong Kong film companies can set up new companies in China for distributing Hong Kong-China co-production film and does not need the hand of agents. Third, the Hong Kong's China co-productions are regarded as local Chinese film, allow them to have a 30 to 40% box office share and a waiver of import tax. Also, in early 20s, State Administration of Video, Film and Television announced the reform of China's film industry by introducing market mechanism, namely as allow private capital to operate new film production. The effect is very essential. The total box office revenue has increased from less than 1 billion in 2002 to 6.2 billion in 2009. Through CIPA, Hong Kong film production companies can expand their market and increase their revenue due to the wider range of audience in mainland. The great market potential in mainland can help raise more investment in film production. However, on the other side, the Hong Kong film industry is under the recession. For instance, the box office of Kung Fu Hustle, mainland China has reached 1.7 billion box office, while Hong Kong has only reached around 600 million box office. In terms of maximization, the Hong Kong film production company tend to shoot co-production films rather than domestic film. As a result, CIPA fostered the environment of co-production films. The local film proportion in Hong Kong decreased from 87% in 2002 to 61% in 2007. The quantity of co-production film released between 2013 to 2017 is 214 movies. However, the quantity of local film production between 2012 to 2017 is only 118 films.
So let's move on to the co-production implication on Hong Kong film industry for self-censorship. The openness of mainland market doesn't mean Hong Kong film producers have same freedom of expression in Chinese market because the censorship. Hong Kong provides flexible freedom on deciding movie, film, and content. The precondition is to satisfy censorship ordinance, yet the rating system may affect the audience base because the movie may not suitable for the teenagers. For China, there is no category system to allow all aging group to watch, and the censorship threshold is harsh and fluctuates. For the extremely violent and nudity scene, it was banned by the official. And for the film producer, they have to rearrange the script or remove the controversial content because the censorship period also usually take a year. And to simplify or compress the censorship procedure, they will negotiate with the Chinese official or even self-censorship to have earlier film release. For example, of the self-censorship rules culture provide two versions. For Chinese version, there is no nudity scene to subject to the China's censorship. For mainland investor, they grant greater decision power than the film director, and they will request producers to avoid the sensitive content that is safer to pass the censorship, because failing to pass the censorship will suffer monetary loss to investor for postponing the film release. For Hong Kong film industry, they mainly accept the co-production model because the actual benefit to the China's box office. Co-production model will threaten Hong Kong film industry development on imposing film self-censorship. For example, Johnny To's election is movie ending in China is all gangsters were arrested by police to adapt officials' moral perception and censorship. Adapting Chinese market by adjusting story plot will cause the stereotype of film content without the innovative. Moreover, co-production will shape the homogeneity of Hong Kong film production because film producers prefer love and comedy film is safer to pass the censorship, discouraging them to break through the framework, affecting Hong Kong movies' reputation under the zipper because the previous success for Hong Kong is based on flexible expression on film content. For audience, they are less interested to Hong Kong movie because the co-production are without local culture and creative element by duplicating crime films again and again. Despite film censorship, political censorship is also imposed by Chinese film industry. Hong Kong actress Danny Yip was boycotted by China because she supported umbrella movement. As a result, Hong Kong film industry worker was implicated to the political activeness because they afraid China's countermeasure for their political stance and threatened to their job security. So let's move on to the co-production affect the nature of Hong Kong film industry on actors, succession, and labor. For A-list actors and directors, they actively engaged into co-production because the considerable salary and film budget super regulate one-third mainland actor to the co-production, causing the hollowing of the Hong Kong film industry. For junior actors from Hong Kong, they lack acting experience because co-production intensify the polarization to eliminate the survivors of middle-scale movies. They acquire fewer acting experience from the regulation of one-third mainland actors. Therefore, Hong Kong junior actors are difficult to replace the senior actor to enhance the Hong Kong film industry development. For the Hong Kong film industry worker, the emergence of co-production derived from supervise their working condition because film company cut the day allowance and lower their wages after the popularization of co-production. And to promote Hong Kong labor's competitiveness, labor have to reduce their wages to secure their job. And moreover, mainland film workers are more competitive than Hong Kong, for employing a Hong Kong technician equals to 12 mainland technicians' wages. And Hong Kong Film Company will prefer to shift the Hong Kong film production to China outsourcing because it was cost effective to gain more profit share. To sum up, co-production will interrupt the nature of Hong Kong film industry because the regulation of employing one-third mainland actors will reduce Hong Kong actors' opportunity on acting. CIPA also facilitate Hong Kong Film Company to outsource China for its film production and sacrifice Hong Kong film producers' occupation by suffering lower wages. CIPA also facilitate the outflow of the English actor and the elimination of middle-scale movie. Junior actors were unable to absorb the acting performance to it. And China's censorship on Hong Kong movies also restrict Hong Kong movies' uniqueness on its local culture and flexible film production that gradually marginalizing Hong Kong film industry development by Chinese film market.
Now we come to the part about China's influence over television program, and our prime example is TVB. Though it might seem that the shift towards the pro-China side of TVB is only a matter for recent years, but there are actually traces showing that it is not a sudden change of heart. According to their own website, the number of mainland TV programs bought by TVB has been increasing since 1997 and having a rather huge ratio among its programs year by year. Back in the 90s, there were rarely any mainland TV programs that can be seen. However, since 2000, around 6 to 8 mainland programs were put on TVB's show list every year, and the number increases to averagely 15 per year starting from 2010. With the increase of mainland programs, viewers are getting more used to its elements and eventually increase their acceptance to China. And so we can say that it is a sense of endorsement of TVB towards mainland. Apart from TV programs, one of the most obvious influence from mainland is probably the direct investment into TVB. Ever since the setup of TVB back in the 60s, it has been running by solely capital from Hong Kong, with Sir Run Shaw being the largest shareholder in the 80s. Yet in 2015, this statement becomes negative. In that year, a mainland company called CMC Incorporated brought 26% of TVB's share and becoming one of its main shareholders. What makes this new shareholder terrifying is that its CEO, Ray Gang Lee, is actually a CCP member. The company he holds are mainly sponsored by government organizations like China Development Bank and China Merchants, showing his connection with the central government. With the man subject to CCP having say to TVB's direction of development, many were filled with the dread that TVB will lose its neutrality and become the puppet of mainland. The research conducted by CUHK in 2016 showed that among all electric media in Hong Kong, TVB achieved the lowest credibility with only 5.88 marks, showing people's worry on whether TVB is still a trustworthy media. In fact, their worries are not mere delusion. During the umbrella movement, the news department of TVB tried to alter the report on 7 police attacking citizens into a way less harmful to the police side. While in the Legislative Council election of 2016, TVB chose to use rather the data from the pro-establishment camp rather than the ones from the registration and electoral office. All of the angry citizens regarding the stance of TVB eventually broke out during the anti-extradition movement. During the movement, TVB once again tried to report in the way that favored the Beijing side by focusing on the negative effects of the protests. It was there that the protesters' dissatisfaction towards the central government and TVB were combined together, making TVB their boycott target and a new raw front other than the streets. People start refusing to buy products that put their advertisement on TVB and not patronize any restaurants that broadcast any TVB programs. Their purchasing power became their biggest weapon in this boycott action. Regarding the criticisms, however, TVB showed no intention in reviewing their reporting method and even accused protesters' boycott actions as illegal. In fact, there were people got arrested for setting up pages or groups on Facebook to rally others to join the boycott. This action further deepening the intense atmosphere between TVB and the protesters. As a result of the boycott action and standing on the pro-China side, TVB not only losing its reputation as one of the eldest television stations in Hong Kong, but also lead to the rise of its new rival, ViuTV. In political aspect, being treated as standing on the pro-democracy side, Viu rise the wave of the boycott and absorb viewers from the yellow economic circle. The pro-democracy citizens believe that supporting organizations that share the same ideal with them can be counted as a practical way of making their political stance. They can make their friends rich while weakening their enemies in terms of economy. While in terms of promoting strategy, Viu does seem to outmatch TVB and replace its seat as one of the most popular media in Southeast Asia. The boy band it produced and adapted TV programs has gained huge support from the mass, not only from Hong Kong, but also making it one of the South Asia's second largest streaming service by paid subscribers, ahead of Netflix and only behind Disney+. So we can see that the influence of China does have its positive effect, while most of it can be counted as negative. Though it takes control over the biggest television station in Hong Kong, audience give out their answers through giving chance to its young rival and bring competition to the overall TV industry once more. I'll hand the following time to my teammates.
Next, I'm going to talk about why the new film censor ordinance appeared. Since anti-extradition law amendment bill movement, there are many movies and documentaries about the movement and be seen as anti-government. Because of that, Hong Kong and China government thinks that it is not acceptable to have anti-government films. So the Hong Kong government was using the power of nation security law to propose amendment to the film censor ordinance to enhance the regulatory framework and counter this film. And finally, in 2021, August 27, this proposal was approved by the Legislative Council. Now, I'm going to talk about the updated version of film censorship ordinance. Now, the censor is required to consider whether the film will be contrary to the interests of national security and empower the chief secretary for administration to direct the film censorship authority to revoke certificate of approval or certificate of exemption previously issued for films if their exhibition would be contrary to the national security interest. Also, impose heavier penalty for exhibiting films that are not exempted or approved, raising the maximum penalty to imprisonment for 3 years and or fine of $1 million. Finally, I'm going to talk about how does it affect the Hong Kong film industry. First, talented film directors are leaving Hong Kong, such as Carla and Jarvis Old Man Kid. These two directors are both participate in the creation of the 10-year. The reason they are leaving are they don't think Hong Kong is safe for them anymore because of national security law and the things they had did in the past, such as films they make and the opinion they have made which is against the government. Also, they were afraid of getting arrested by giving opinion in the future. Next is the suppress the creative freedom of film industry due to the new film censorship ordinance. Now making movies need to be aware of not contrary to the interest of national security, but the guideline is never open to the public. So this is hard for the movie director to avoid contrary to the interest of national security. Also, because of the guideline is not open to the public, the censor can choose to ban the film whatever they want. This is because the instruction is unclear, making there is no arguing point to argue. Besides, now the films which the government doesn't like are not allowed to exhibit to the public. This is because this will violate film censor ordinance, and the person who exhibit to the public will be fined and imprisonment, making the revenue pretty low for the team who make the films and hard to come back for all the costs used in making the films, making it is hard to support themselves to keep making movie about government and the things government doesn't like. Also, films are getting removed from some of the platforms, such as 10-year got removed by Netflix. This is because of the pressure of the new film censorship ordinance, making the films become hard to find and citizens have very limited ways to watch. So, conclusion of national security law implication on Hong Kong film industry is the law have the law are having a huge negative impact on the film industry because of talented film director are leaving Hong Kong and the suppressed creative freedom of the Hong Kong industry.
For the conclusion, SIPA provide positive impact to the Hong Kong film industry by providing visual investment and reliable box office from China to encourage companies to actively engage in movie production. For the negative impact, it weakened Hong Kong film industry uniqueness by self-censorship. For the social unrest in 2019, TVB's reputation was lowered by its political stance and inappropriate reporting means, raising people criticism and boycott campaign to this company, facilitating the emergence of Bill TV. The social unrest also fascinated Hong Kong film producers to record the protests, and the protests also caused the implementation of NSL and censorship ordinance amendment that narrowing Hong Kong film industry's film expression, lowering the production of political movie because of legal responsibility. The criminal films are also affected in Hong Kong film industry because the film content may attach to the NSL. It is believed that the situation of Hong Kong film industry is being worse because the red line was tightened and blurred the distinction between Hong Kong and Chinese film censorship. That's the end of the discussion. Thank you for watching.